Hold on to your hats, folks, because we are diving head first into the sequel to that movie, Mandingo. 15 years later, and it's a whirlwind of familiar faces, sort of, stunning actresses Brenda Sykes and Pam Grier, and, well, more of the same. We're dropped right into 19th century Havana, a bustling port with a shockingly efficient slave trade. Imagine the scene: a human cargo shipment, marched straight into a market, these poor souls destined for the sugar cane fields and, well, let's just say the breeding program is robust. They even pick the best tribes to create super slaves. Enter Tambora, a king among slaves, who's made a very unwise alliance with his owner's mistress, Doña Mariana. Big mistake. Black men and white women? Forbidden. Tambora's swift execution leaves Doña Mariana heartbroken and pregnant. Oh, the drama. She's reduced to tears, comforted only by her personal slave, Rachel. This is gonna be good. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this story's a whirlwind. From time to time, Mariana escapes to New Orleans, popping out a baby she names Drum, yes, Drumline Drum. Rachel, bless her heart, raises the little tyke, while Mariana becomes New Orleans' most celebrated OnlyFans star by 1860. But then, bam, a new wave of civilized slavers shows up, breeding slaves like rabbits and selling them to cotton plantations. At a seriously kinky party, our boy Drum's caught in the crosshairs of one Bernard, a real-life berries and cream kinda guy. Bernard, in a move of pure aristocratic brilliance, declares a slave fight. Mariana refuses to let Drum fight, but Bernard threatens to trash her entire empire. Forced into it, Drum enters the ring, and gets his clock cleaned. Poor guy's knocked down repeatedly, but he's still in the fight. Whoa, this is better than Ali Norton. Mariana and Bernard are thrilled, showering Drum with gifts. He asks for a woman, and boom. Bernard delivers. Drum, the ultimate wingman, helps blaze up, setting him up with Mariana's crew. Picture this, a harem of beauties. Drum picks Kalinda, feisty, fiery, and totally not into it at first. But Drum smooth talks her, promising a love no slave owner could ever match. The tension. Later that night, the bedroom's heating up, Kalinda spills her secrets, revealing her innocence. Then, bam, Bernard bursts in, sporting that questionable hairdo, wanting a piece of the action. Oh, things get heated, Drum's temper flares, and Bernard gets a bloody nose. This is insane. An enraged Bernard threatens Drum, the drama continues. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. A slow, agonizingly slow death, before a dramatic exit. Meanwhile, in the bedroom, Hammond's hatching plans, not for world peace, mind you, but for finding a nanny and buying a drum, a breeding drum. Yep, this actually happened in the pre-Civil War South, the height of horrifyingly casual wealth building. Later, Mariana and Rachel are reminiscing, sharing sweet memories of young Drum, their bond turning intimate. And guess what they share next? Smallpox. The next morning, Rachel spies Drum in blaze training, a little too enthusiastically, and rushes out to give Drum a stern talking to. But bam! Bernard and his goons arrive, challenging Drum to a fight. It's a total mismatch, Drum's unarmed, facing Babang and his knife. But Drum's got grit. Punches fly, kicks connect, they're evenly matched, until Bernard loses his patience. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a whirlwind. Baban's about to ice Drum, but bam! Rachel pounces, only for Bernard to immediately plug her. His goons scatter, Blaze knocks Baban flat, and Drum almost throttles Bernard, until Blaze yells, "Whoa there, buddy." Killing a white man? That's a recipe for disaster. Bernard, seizing his chance, hightails it on horseback. Rachel, dying, whispers, "Mama." Mariana, revealing the truth just before she breathes her last. At the burial, Mariana tells Drum, "You gotta get outta here, son. They won't believe a black man over a white one, you'll always be seen as a slave." Later, in a super dramatic bedroom scene, Mariana reveals Drum's royal heritage, his father was a king. Hands him an awesome tribal necklace, and, well, let's just say a mother-son kiss almost happened. But she stops herself. Then she orders him. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a roller coaster. A scandalous kiss almost happened, between mother and son. Yikes. Then, Hammond, our resident high roller, is making deals, buying horses, Blaze and Drum, but no women involved. That's where Mariana, a master negotiator, steps in, not only selling him horses, but also delivering a brand new girlfriend, Augusta. Augusta's thrilled, maybe too thrilled. Meanwhile, poor Drum's saying goodbye to his love, Kalinda, leaving her heartbroken. But wait, there's more. Hammond's got a new servant for Augusta, Renee. And let's just say Renee's got a fiery attitude, ready to unleash her inner Jackie Brown. Off they all go to Falconhurst Plantation. Buckle up, Buttercup, it's gonna be a wild ride. Arriving at the estate, Augusta's jaw drops. What a place. Then she meets Lucretia, the woman who raised Hammond. Talk about a backstory. Casting Luca? Seriously? It's outrageous. Next thing you know, she's yelling for Drum, complaining about the mess, ordering him to tell Regine to clean up. Seriously, Augusta, your lazy behind should be grabbing a broom. The servants scramble, Augusta supervising, of course. Then bam, Hammond arrives with his daughter, Sophie, who's got a thing for, well, let's just say she's spirited. Hammond tells Sophie to shut her trap, but Augusta's speechless. That girl's mouth is filthy. Sophie's even poking Drum's butt. The poor guy runs off. Augusta's worried about Hammond and Regine, but Hammond's like, back off. And then tells Blaze and Drum to get to work on making more babies, just to rub Augusta's nose in it. The next morning, Augusta bursts in on Hammond and Regine in bed, and serves them breakfast. Hammond's warning is clear, stop this, and Regina's in for a very dry spell. Augusta's pastrami is so good, she's practically bribing Hammond to stop complimenting it. Then, Hammond, bless his heart, teaches Drum to ride. Horseback riding. Next thing you know, he's got Drum overseeing whippings. Drum's like, hold on a minute, I'm a horse whisperer, not a whip whisperer. Hammond's all, gotta make tough choices, boy. Meanwhile, Sophie's trying to seduce Hammond, with results less than stellar. Let's just say, her personal hygiene's questionable. Lucretia swoops in like a superhero, saving the day, and Hammond's nose. Drum's curious about Sophie and Blaze, but Blaze denies any shenanigans. Hammond praises Drum's work, only to see Sophie creeping around Blaze again. She's relentless. Blaze resists her advances, smart man. And Drum steps in, sending Sophie packing. This whole estate's a soap opera, I tell ya. Whoa, a brawl breaks out, a real knockdown, drag out. Lucky for Drum, Blaze takes the hit, saving his bacon. But wait, there's more. Leroy, our broom-wielding heroine, swoops in, breaking up the fight and shielding Blaze's bruises from the ever-watchful Hammond. She hides Blaze for days, and gives Drum the same pep talk, because Master Hammond ain't gonna be too happy about black eyes. Later, Augusta asks Regine a very interesting question. Regina's staying mum, but her actions speak volumes when she tries to subtly distract Hammond with Augusta's charms. Then bam, Sophie spills the beans about Drum's shiner. Hammond's suspicions are piqued. He lines up the slaves, and when Blaze missing, all hell breaks loose. Drum's cover story is crumbling faster than a cheap biscuit. Hammond, the supremely clever, or so he thinks. Hammond sees right through Drum and Blazer's flimsy lies. 50 lashes, 30 for Blaze, 5 for Drum. Crack, whack. Sophie, ever the nosy one, tries to sneak a peek, and gets a well-deserved earful. Then, gasp, Hammond feels a pang of guilt. A pang so powerful, it magically transforms into freeing his slaves. Who knew guilt could be so productive? Leroy, bless her heart, offers water. Drum tries to share. Blaze, still fuming, rejects it with a dramatic flourish. I'm running away, he declares, heading north. Leroy wisely warns him about enthusiastic road patrols. Later, over tea, because even slave owners need their afternoon brew, Hammond announces his plan to breed Drum with Regine. Augusta, naturally appalled by Hammond's, shall we say, forthright language, erupts. I'm not a slave, she cries, I'm a white woman, and a Trump voter, apparently that means something here. Hammond, never one to back down, tells her to know her place, which doesn't go down so well. Augusta flees in tears. Hammond apologizes, kinda, and in a truly unexpected twist, Augusta confesses she's a virgin. The plot thickens. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a roller coaster. 40-year-old virgin, reconciled, engaged, then bam, Sophie's furious. Her punishment? Pentecost school. But wait, there's more. Sophie, in a fit of pure, unadulterated drama, accuses Blaze of, inappropriate advances. Graphic details ensue, leaving Hammond absolutely livid. He chains Blaze, but Sophie's not done. She taunts Blaze, flashing her assets, only to get a well-deserved whacking from Hammond when he catches her in her lie. Still no freedom for Blaze, though. Then, engagement party time. Mariana's ecstatic for Augusta, but Bernard's a sourpuss. Dinner conversation takes a very dark turn, the slave trade. Someone even tries to buy Drum. Hammond refuses, but offers a different, troubled slave, one he wants hung. Bernard suggests castration. Mariana's jaw drops. What a night. Hold on to your hats, folks, because this is a wild ride. A toast to, well, let's just say things get intense. Our hero, Blaze, finds himself in a seriously sticky situation, facing off against a slave trader so wild, you'll need a shower after hearing about him. But Blaze isn't one to back down. He whips up a rebellion faster than you can say, freedom. Slaves break free, mansions burn, and a certain Mr. Hammond finds himself wishing he'd chosen a quieter evening. Amidst the chaos, there's romance, betrayal, and enough swordplay to make Errol Flynn blush. Will Blaze succeed? Will Hammond survive? Will anyone manage to get a decent night's sleep? Find out, if you dare. Whoa, Bernard, in a fit of rage, pops Blaze. Then boom, Drum charges, tossing Hammond aside like a rag doll. Bernard tries a shot, but Drum's a force of nature, literally ripping him. Well, let's just say Bernard's future family planning is sorted. The slaves storm the house, a whirlwind of vengeance, taking out the remaining white men, and even the ladies grab a few souvenirs. Mariana, tragically, falls in Drum's arms. Regina's also down, shot by a friend. Turns out, sometimes, same skin doesn't mean same team. Augusta's attacked, but rescued by a surprisingly heroic drunk. Hammond, Drum, and Augusta hide, the barn's their new hideout. More trouble arrives, White Riders blasting away. Hammond tells Drum to flee, Augusta pleads for Drum's life, but Hammond's cold. Stay, and he's dead meat. The mansion? It's going up in flames. Hammond screams for Drum to run. Drum could easily finish Hammond off, but nope. He vanishes into the night, leaving Hammond muttering about unpredictable black people.